Well, this is Mr. Z, and yesterday in the announcement I asked you a question about how geography impacted the way people lived, and we're going to try to answer that question a little bit by looking at the regions of North Carolina. And as you see here, three main areas in our state is the mountain region, which is the western part of the state, the Piedmont region, which is in the central part of our state, and then the coastal plain region, which normally is kind of split up into intercoastal plain and outer coastal plain. Mountain region, as we said, is in the western part of the state. Travel is a little more difficult there because you have a lot of mountains, you have a lot of colder weather, and you probably have a lot more snow there as well. It's fairly spread out, and the major industries there are timber, or the trees, and tourism. People like to go there to camp and see the scenery and mountain climb and things like that. The central part of our state is called the Piedmont region. It has a mixture of some small towns, but it mostly has a lot of major cities. That would include Charlotte, Durham, Raleigh, places like that. It's right down the center part of our state. It's fairly moderate temperature. It does get a little bit hot in the summer and a little bit cool in the winter, but overall it's fairly moderate. There's a lot of different industries. There's the banking industries. Those of you in the Charlotte area know all about the banking industry. There is a lot of manufacturing that takes place in the central part of the state. A lot of technology. Those of you familiar with Raleigh, the Research Triangle Park. So there's a very diverse range of jobs and opportunities that are in the Piedmont region. Next region is what's called the Intercoastal Plain. Here you see a picture of my hometown of Weldon, North Carolina. A very small rural town. There's a few larger cities. But mostly it's a lot of small towns and small cities, fairly moderate temperature, very spread out. It was one of the things I had trouble getting used to, was that not everything was right nearby. There was the main industries in the intercoastal plain were agriculture or farming, and also manufacturing. Now, in today's economy, in the last 20 years, a lot of those jobs have gone away, so there's not a lot of jobs in the intercoastal plain. The economy is kind of tough. Right, the final region is what is called the outer coastal plain. It obviously is on the coast of the state. It includes the barrier islands and the outer banks. It has a fairly moderate temperature. It's probably a little warmer than the rest of the state, but still overall fairly moderate. There's a lot of tourism, obviously people going to the beach, and a lot of fishing. Those are the two main industries in that area. There is some danger. They're at risk for hurricanes and other types of storms like that the other part of the state is not as in danger of. So let's try to answer our question and then also think about how that's going to impact our lesson on Unit 2. There are a lot of different regions, as you just saw, in North Carolina. They have different climates. You have areas that get a lot of snow. You have beach areas that get a lot of rain and sometimes hurricanes. A lot of different geographic features. Some areas have mountains, some are fairly level, some have the beach. There's some areas, especially in the Piedmont region, that have a whole lot of jobs, many different job opportunities, good transportation systems. There are other areas, like in the intercoastal plain, where areas are very spread out. Also in the mountain region, things are very spread out. And why is all this important? Well, just think about the colonists. They all lived in different areas. They lived in different situations. They came from different places. So as you learn in Unit 2 about the colonists and the way they lived, remember that they were not all the same. Right? Some lived further up north, some lived further down south, some lived close to the coastline, some lived further inland. So just remember that they weren't all the same. But the bottom line was, just as we are all one state of North Carolina, despite our different regions, the colonists also had to find a way to overcome the differences in where they came from, the differences in their lifestyle, and ultimately had to come together to find common interests. So I hope this helps you a little bit with Unit 2, and I'll talk to you soon.